We make the rules, pal. The news, war, peace, famine, upheaval, the price of a paperclip. We picked that rabbit out of the hat while everybody sits out there wondering how the hell we did it.
Alcohol, right.
Now we're going to take a look at the decision making of SGA as well as J-Dub. At times their offense does get stagnant. They sometimes get trapped into playing that your turn, my turn basketball. And sometimes they overlook the open shooters. Here's an example of that stagnant offensive possession I'm referring to, where there's barely even a pass. And this is how the Knicks lost game 1 against the Denver Nuggets after controlling the game for 36 minutes and allowing the Nuggets to steal it at the end. They had stagnant possessions, and it was just a lot of settling, a lot of bad decisions, and it even affected them going up against the Nuggets once again in game 3, where they controlled the game for about 40 minutes and pretty much lost control within the overtime, only scoring 2 points. The ball movement stagnated. There was barely any passes in some possessions. It's just really SGA going 1v1 and settling for a tough shot. With the Thunder going down the stretch, when teams begin to cut down on their turnovers like the Pacers did in game 1, in which they only had 6 turnovers in the second half, that's a major catalyst that OKC doesn't have to carry their offense, especially with them being not so deep with the just amount of shooters that they have on their team. That's why sometimes we see them prone to being exposed in these comebacks down the stretch. And the way this year's finals is playing out, the Pacers are a perfect opponent for being in these scenarios. And game 1 was truly a reflection of that. Okay, so going down the stretch, the Thunder only had 2 buckets in the last 5 minutes. Something that doesn't really get talked about a lot in game 1 is the defense with Miles Turner being out there on the floor. The Thunder, around the paint, they missed a lot of shots. They were 20 of 42 overall at the rim, but they were 10 of 27 at the rim when Turner was actually on the floor. That kind of explains the struggles of Chet Holmgren a little bit, because Turner was really deterring his shots in and around the paint. And Holmgren, his jump shooting wasn't as consistent in game 1. He wasn't much of an outside threat. Here's a play in transition, and check out the Pacers, one of their assistant coaches, trying to tell him to get back in transition. She's going ham over there. But Chet right here, he had a nice opportunity to get a quick bucket on Turner as he tried to catch him off guard. There's something about Turner that definitely throws him off. I believe his mobility, because in the playoffs so far, the Thunder have not really faced a team with a center like that. They faced slower centers in Memphis with Zach Edey, the Denver Nuggets with Jokic, and also the T-Wolves with Rudy Gobert. So these guys are a little bit slower than Turner. Turner actually has a bit more mobility. So that has actually thrown them off in game 1. So Chet's definitely going to have to rebound from that and get more consistency in his jump shooting. So in the last 3 minutes, the Pacers went small. And unfortunately, it ended up costing them about 4 points in second chance opportunities, as Pascal Siakam was able to grab an offensive board and draw a foul. And in another possession, SGA was not able to box him out due to his size. He was able to give the Pacers a second chance, grabbing that air ball for a putback. So a lot of the little nuances I spoke on earlier, with the Pacers cutting down their turnovers in the second half, not allowing that OKC transition defense to get points, which helps that offense make up for the lack of shooting that they have at times and how stale their offense gets. That now is cut out, and everything is left on the shoulders for SGA and J-Dub to make things happen. But they still had their opportunities. J-Dub as well as Lou Dort had an open 3. They both missed it. And again, this is where the pressure begins to come down on the Thunder, because the catalyst with the Pacers is that their role players, they tend to knock down their shots. Ben Shepherd, Naismith, Obi Toppin, and Miles Turner were knocking down some tough threes in that fourth quarter. And it gets crazy because now the Thunder is left in an all too familiar situation. Now heading down the stretch, with OKC up 3. Now one pass happens on this possession. Very similar situation that played out in the Nuggets comeback in games 1 and 3. And just looking at it again with OKC going small, that kind of plays into the Pacers' favor because now they have Obi Toppin out here. There's no big to actually body him in the paint and grab boards because Obi's not that kind of player, even though he's listed at times as a power forward. So the Pacers have 5 3-point shooters that fall in line with their fast-paced 5-out offense. I mean, just looking at Case and Wallace and Caruso, those two already give the Pacers an advantage on the 3-point shooters. Obi, Naismith, and Nembhard. Those guys have had the hotter hand in these playoffs when it comes to 3-point shooting. Now OKC up 1. Time winding down. Look at the possession once again. Barely a pass inside the arc. Once again, your turn, my turn. J-Dub is going to settle for the tough layup. And this play right here, I wouldn't say it's a foul. It's a tough call right here, but I wouldn't say that's a foul. Guys have their momentum going one way. The refs should try to stay out of it. The physicality is part of the game, and just slowing down the pace every single minute is kind of messing up with the flow of the game, the momentum. Teams sometimes are getting free timeouts. This is something Adam Silver, just going off a tangent, he's going to have to correct because it's definitely messing with the flow of the game. I don't know if it's a money thing where they have to look at the replay, then they get more commercials because fans are very engaged. Maybe those ad spaces are worth a lot more. It could be a money play, you never know, but it's messing up with the flow of the game. Not everything with a little bit of physicality deserves a replay. It's the fucking finals. Let's just go. Okay, so after the challenge, the ruling is not a foul. So OKC gets a fresh 14. Once again, they're still going small. OKC still small on the court right now. And just like the last possession, not a pass at all. SGA kind of settles. That's his range right there. And sometimes this is exactly where teams like the Pacers have the Oklahoma City Thunder beat in plays like that, where they're just stagnant. They're relying on their superstar to generate his shot. We've seen teams throughout the playoffs when their stars tend to go out, like the Boston Celtics with the Knicks. They played a lot better in that. I believe that was game 5. They played a lot better in Boston because the ball was moving, things were more free flowing. And that's how the Pacers play. They kind of have a community-based offense, even though Tyrese Haliburton is their go-to guy in the crunch. You never know who's really going to hit that dagger. It's not really a guarantee it's going to be him. And sometimes the Thunder have an over-reliance on their superstar. In this modern era of the NBA, where teams have multiple players who could defend multiple positions, the talent pool is not only a lot better, but it's a lot more globalized. The league is more flat than it used to be, a pyramid of top talent players changing the paradigm of the whole league. It's harder for superstars to get into their bag, just consistently going for that one-on-one in isolation. And these exact scenarios have hurt the Thunder throughout the playoffs, where there's just no ball movement. Guys are just standing around. There's not even a pass inside the arc at all. And SGA and J-Dub are slotted in a position where they kind of got to find their own shot. And sometimes when they take it to the rack, they got to go up against 2 to 3 guys. As we've seen in the course of this segment, there's a lot of things that led up to this exact moment. OKC had 2 opportunities, up 1 with the ball. Stagnant possessions, and also their offense not necessarily converting on those 19 turnovers in the first half. And in situations like this, the Pacers, unlike the Oklahoma City Thunder, they're not afraid of kicking the ball out to their open shooters. Because OKC, they love to collapse in the paint. And they have guys that are fast enough on these closeouts. But in the fourth quarter, the Pacers role players have proven that they're not afraid to knock down shots. OKC, another game where they're controlling everything. 46 minutes and 25 seconds with the lead, just to lose it at the very end. And this played out in games 1 and 3 against the Denver Nuggets. So OKC fans are no stranger to this, but they can bounce back. There's no doubt. But there should be no opponent being underestimated. And these two teams, they're a great matchup for each other. The Pacers role players might not be on point from game to game, but they are going to be a main contributing factor in this series. It's going to be good. Put all that small market bias aside and enjoy this. It's going to be a good one. Until next time, you fellas, stay safe. Peace.